Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're talking about what I call traditional 2.0, and this is not your granny's living room. Maybe it is a little bit. So now, grab your apples and grab your notebooks because we're going to school. Now, how do we define traditional 2.0? Well, to do that, we have to understand traditional. It's an enormous category. Of the three major categories, traditional, transitional, and contemporary, it is by far the broadest. Why? Because it literally spans every piece of furnishings that was created from a caveman stool all the way forward to the Industrial Revolution. So that's an enormous span. You have things like Egyptian chairs, Roman chairs, Jacobean, Queen Anne. Remember the Louis? They're all there. Duncan Fife, we've got wingbacks, we've got Victorians, Gothic Revival, even the Edwardians. So there's everything, all these styles and looks compiles the original traditional super category. So mainly what we think of here in the US as traditional is more or less kind of like our grandmother's homes. They were filled with pieces that were typically European influence, 18th century, 19th century elements, and then they would throw in, an occasional piece from, Arabia or Japan or someplace exotic. So it made it really, interesting and sort of fancy. So let me show you some pictures that kind of exemplify the elements that make up a traditional look. An emphasis on order and symmetry, like these two busts. I mean, this is a perfect example. They loved pairs of things. Lots of dark patterned woods. They did a lot of entire rooms clad in wood. An abundance of kind of decorative elements. Oh my God, like the detailed molding and pilasters and crown molding and trim. That was everywhere. A dark and kind of generally warm palette. You'll see variations on that, but you can definitely tell, that this is an overall peachy, warmy, golden palette direction. Larger scaled, heavily detailed furnishings. Period details, of course, like wingback chairs, cabriole legs. Pieces had fringe, they had lots of intricate detailing like tufting, those kinds of elements. There was a lot going on with these pieces, and they were larger scale. They were sort of ornate. You had a lot of dark, heavily patterned fabrics. Think of tapestries, think of damasks, think of all those things that are kind of very traditional style patterns of fabrics with lots of trim and lots of accents. These spaces felt familiar because they were familiar. There had been iterations of it for hundreds of years, maybe a slightly different leg style or whatever, but these represented stability, family, kind of predictability, sort of home base, family. That's what traditional really expressed. Okay guys, so far I've done videos on deco, glam, farmhouse, and Gustavian. And so here's what I need from you guys. I need to know in the comments down below, A, do you like this style breakdown series? And B, if you do, which style do you want to see next? And the one that gets the most comments wins for the next one that we're gonna do. And by the way, if you haven't subscribed yet, bang that bell. Make sure you And if you haven't subscribed yet, be sure and smash that button and ring the bell. Be sure and subscribe. Click that button. Okay. And if you haven't subscribed yet, smash that button and ring that bell. So guys, what is what I'm calling traditional 2.0, or we can look at it as modern traditional. In reality, there's a couple of versions of 2.0. There's everything from what we're going to talk about today, which I would call the kind of classical interpretation of traditional 2.0, but there's also all the way at the other end of the spectrum, you've got maximalism, you've got grand millennials, that's a new hot one we have to talk about, and you've even got neo-Victorian. What is that? It wasn't good to start with. Why are we going back there? So what I love about this traditional 2.0 is that it's a little bit more upbeat, it's a little bit more sophisticated, it's a little bit more tonally sophisticated, but it's still got homey elements, it's still got familiar elements, and it still feels traditional. It's still combining all of those classic elements, you know, of symmetry, order, layout, all of those things that we're familiar with traditional, but it looks newer, fresher, happier. Let's take a look. So there's about 4 or 5 elements that we're going to talk about that will allow you to get this look. Now, your overall tonal palette is important because it's not going to be as dark and as heavy as it was. This is a perfect example. This has beautiful traditional molding to it, but it's done in all these lovely off-whites and whites and grays together. Think soft yellows, greens, blues. That's wonderful. Lighter wood floors, but still in some kind of pattern. You're seeing lots of chevroning. That's great. Plenty of trim and molding. That's all good, but you're kind of keeping it all in the same chromatic family as well. And you can even incorporate things like chintzes and patterned wallpapers, but they're calmer, they're softer, like this lovely blue, gray, and white one that's really kind of lovely. It's very sort of in the background, but it's definitely a floral wallpaper. So keeping the palette tight chromatically is step 1. Now, secondly, window treatments. Again, you want to definitely have them, but you know, you're doing them in a more simpler style, lighter colors, definitely for sure, simpler patterns, some trim, or maybe solid with a little bit of banding or something like that. It's overall sort of toned down, but it's still, you know, traditional drapery or draperies combined with shades is also a pretty combination. Roman shades also very good as well, but you're keeping it overall softer, quieter, a little bit less dramatic. So the third element that's kind of important to consider is making sure you're staying with those ordered layouts. So think in terms of pairs, think in terms of things that balance each other. So for instance, in a picture like this, you've got this lovely pair of overscaled chairs that are, you know, balanced on either side of the sofa. You've also got a pair of matching lamps, busts. I mean, symmetry is flipping all over the place on this picture. So that's definitely a look that you want to make sure you emphasize when you're doing layout. So the next element is, of course, addressing your furnishings, and you're going to use those same styles, and they're going to be refurbished without any irony. That's important. Think intricately upholstered with lots of skirting and ruffles, pleats, fringe, trims, sofas, tables, slip covers, everything. All of that's all good. Nicely stained, dark, finished woods are really important. Marble and stone inlay even. Fretwork back chairs, of course. And you can mix some styles. You can throw in a Jacobean chair with something that's neoclassical. That's okay. Just make sure that they're all happy in the same overall palette together. Fabrics you can use are really fabulous. Lots of patterns again, and everything from like toile and, oh my gosh, this room is filled with chintz, but it's a two-tone chintz, not a multicolored chintz. There's a difference there. Stripes, of course, damasks, silks, velvets, even smooth linens and checks, plaids, leathers, felted wools perhaps if you're doing a library, that kind of thing. So it's all intricate and there's a lot there, but it's done in an overall single directive as a palette and with intention to read off of each other and nothing is overtaking the other. So lastly, when you're trying to put this all together for yourself, another element that you want to consider is what level and how you're doing your decor. Now, it can be simple or it can be ornate, but you want to remember pairs of things, symmetrical. Formal traditional artwork is a great look. Displays of collections, florals and plants are important. Think about maybe formal china of some sort, pairs of lights, pairs of busts, all of those things. But it's not in an overwhelming amount. It's maybe 2 to 3 pieces, expressed as a single focal point, and you're done. So guys, I can't even list all the resources in the space down below. So drop me a line at hello@lisaholt.com and I will send you out my PDF on resources. And if you haven't already, go to lisaholtdesign.com and sign up for the email list for the club and watch these videos, and I'll see you guys next week.